Hey folks, hopefully you can hear me. Apparently I was struck down almost immediately in that video before, so I don't know if exactly what happened. We're going to see if this is going to go. Just be aware that in 3 minutes and 48 seconds it could just be totally killed off. Not really sure why. I don't think I've done anything too offensive yet. That very well may come up next. But hey, let's see if this is actually going to do anything. Yeah, so fun times. We'll see what we're going to do. So, thank you all for joining. Sorry about that. I posted a new link to the forum, and we'll see whether that's going to go ahead. So, yeah, at least right now, it seems like it is proceeding as it should. Let's see what happens. So right now, we are, do a little bit of a tour around where I've built to this point. And welcome to the outside of Kitchen Cabaret. I'm currently using what is called the Eevee renderer. So all the renderings I've been posting to the group are going to be using Cycles, which is the one that takes dramatically longer. It's not like a real-time processor, but it is extremely high quality. But when we're just kind of touring around various areas, that's not really going to work so hot for us. That's why we're going to be using Eevee for the moment. So let's just review what we've covered to this, or what I've really done to this point. So this is as, of course, you're entering Kitchen Cabaret from the central land lobby. Cool. So we are going to, that's right, I forgot there was a live concert on tonight, so that may further depress our numbers, but that's fine. Even then, this was like an inappropriate content warning, Paul, which I was a little bit confused about. I don't know if they like saw Kitchen Cabaret and automatically killed it off for some reason, but anyway, that was a bummer. That's why we're just going to go with Futureport, which I don't think anyone's going to care about. We'll see though. So yeah, we have the entry area. We have our little musical review sign out front. I haven't quite come up with the images for this yet. Pretty much all of the images we're going to see are going to be pretty low quality in terms of the research. That's why we're still in the process of trying to recreate them whenever we possibly can. All of this weird kind of clipping doesn't actually exist. It's just Eevee isn't super precise. That's why it is getting a little weird with that. But we then have the interior area. We have what will eventually be the exit to the actual theater. The theater would be pretty much directly through the wall where I'm facing. We also have the placeholder photos, some of our little medallions. I have no idea what these actually were, so I pretty much just went with the land logo in like a silver all along. And we have our lights up at the top. We head on through. This is pretty much what I'm going to be trying to build out a little bit today. So we have the actual entry. We obviously don't have our doors in there as of yet, but we have the marquee up top. And let's just take a little bit of a closer look at this sign, because it took me a whole bunch of hours to create. You can see that each and every little bit is an individual Bezier curve that I've added some weight to. So you can actually see that we have three-dimensionality for every single little bit of the sign. Of course, for this area, I may have forgotten to do that little part of the N that I will copy on over. So that is a little bit janky. It looks like Kitchen Cabaret, which isn't really super awesome. So we can work on fixing that. But yeah, that's basically the marquee. One thing you may notice, the land is looking a little sparse. Basically, it's much easier to build when you're on a particular axis. So what we're seeing right here, if I just go into solid mode, I'm going to try not to make anyone sick with the transitions, but the camera does tend to need to move around pretty quickly inside of Blender. So I basically have just created this complex as a freestanding place, middle of nowhere, and then we have the actual land over to the left. We're going to get back to our actual building in a little bit, but I want to start by taking a little bit of a tour of the land, because none of this really existed in that any real way back when I did my previous live stream. So let's take a look. Obviously, the outside of the land isn't going to look that great because this is built as its own standalone model. So we're just walking up the outside walkway. And here we have the interior of the land. Let me switch back to our renderer just so it's a little bit prettier. I'll also go into 3D mode. All right. So I haven't yet textured out this wall, though I certainly will from that really boring photo I posted to the group the other day with the kind of plastery texture along that. We have the original railings. I have recently made this support pole a whole lot smaller. That's why I just need to go back and do a little bit of a rebuild to make sure this area is built up. But looking out and over, we have the good turn. We have the completely unmodeled fountain as of right now. To be honest, I have no clue whatsoever how I'm actually going to go through and do all of the really intricate sculptural work that they put into this. Not really sure how that's going to be possible, but cross that bridge a little bit later. We, of course, have Listen to the Land and the land giant icon on the wall over to the right. Now, trivia question. Which of these escalators went down when it was open? When this first opened, which one went down? Which one went up? Weirdly enough, it was actually the other way around. So you head over this way to the left as opposed to the north side, where we're heading down south. And we can see the top of the kitchen cabaret sign, or marquee, I guess. Head on down. I have not pretty much done anything with this area directly to the left. So that's pretty much still unmodeled. Get to that as one of the final things. Now, before we take a look at Good Turn, this wall that we're looking at directly in front, which is the south edge wall of Good Turn, is a really complicated but very pretty looking motif for like leaves and trees and everything. So that I'm still going to build out. Haven't quite gotten there as of yet, but that will be coming. All right, Eevee is not particularly great at being able to model things that are transparent, but this whole area, each of these would be fully transparent. If I were to switch over and quickly go to cycles, hopefully it won't be too bad to give you an idea. So yeah, of course, the south one, the left one, actually went down, which I was a little bit surprised about. I don't really know why they switched it, and nor do I know when they actually switched it, but yeah, left one went down. Kind of crazy. And here's the Good Turn. You can immediately see the huge difference between Eevee, which is meant to be kind of a build as you go, or like video rendering type approach, versus Cycles, which is really going to give you that feel like you're standing there. This is definitely one of my favorite shots in the entire project so far. Good Turn really was fancy. It's kind of amazing to see what it was like. Haven't necessarily done a whole lot inside of Good Turn other than what is kind of visible directly from the outside. So we head on up. We actually switch back to Eevee. All right, we're back in Eevee. You can see it does some sort of lights, and I've basically done at least basic modeling on the lights. It's a bit three-dimensional, like lights inside each of them, which gives a nice kind of glow. I totally haven't modeled this area because you're not really meant to look back here yet, but that's fine. We have each of the booths, a little bit of a bevel. We have our tables, the lights are pretty well overhanging. And then we have what should be a look into Listen to the Land. Not anything I've done that much work for. As we circle around, we have the other side of Listen to the Land. And totally blank, just a pretty simple blue placeholder for the moment. I really have to wonder, because I just don't go to Garden Grill. Can anyone up here even see out? It seems like where the seats are would be nearly impossible, which I think kind of defeats the purpose. I guess if you have kids, there's really no way they'd be able to, unless they're just going to be standing on the seat the entire time. All right, let's head on out. We'll head down the down escalator, still kind of weird to think about. This, it's not necessarily coming through great inside the Eevee renderer, but yeah, basically every single one of the little lines in the escalator use a heck of a lot of polygons, but a lot of them are individually modeled. And then we have what was very much the placeholder for Kitchen Cabaret, just so I can make sure I have my spacing. However, right now, I see there's a pretty big initial issue. You see up at the top area, it's rendered pretty decently. We actually have the texture applying as it should. the bottom not doing all that great. Well, at least for this one, what I can do is pretty much select all of my plaster, hit U, Smart UV Project, and it's basically going to automatically make sure that's looking the way I want. I have scaling applied in the texture in the background, so instead of that really streaky, weird looking item, we have our fully physics-based texturing, which is really cool to see. And in a lot of ways, you actually do see this easier inside of Eevee as opposed to in Cycles. But yeah, you can see the reflections based on the specularity. You can see it actually has depth, which is really cool to see. All right. Let's skip over there for right now because there's not too much going on. Let's go to the farmer's market. And Chris and Paul, this is where we see your very hard work. So head on over, scoot through here around the pole, and here's my favorite. I really like the way the barbecue looks. I think it's really, really excellent. There we have it, farmer's market. It exists. Inside, I'm probably going to leave pretty sparse. When you go in Cycles rendering, it's probably just going to be really dark there, which goes with this, in general, being a very September pre-opening 1982 kind of concept. We have, I can't even remember which one this is. Let's check for the little text I have hidden back here. This is the sandwich shop. We have our bakery. Again, thank you for that, Chris. And the others, so we have absolutely no indication of whatsoever. Paul, good to know. I'm probably not going to model that because, yeah, I have no idea. But at least one of them, yeah, there we go. We definitely have the windows, although there's not going to be a whole lot behind there. We have the cheese shop, looking good. Again, this will be alpha'd out, so you're not going to see that awkward black background. And haven't really done a whole lot with this corner as of right yet. We also have the hand dip ice cream, looking pretty good. Looping on over, we have the newly redone Listen to the Land sign. The font I still can't get exactly right. I'm still working on a lot of this here, and actually something is not right here. That's better. Okay, now it's gotten rid of the truly weird version. It's looking a little bit closer to what I want. But there we have the Listen to the Land sign. We have our queue. I still need to do a little bit of work in terms of the, yeah, as you can see here, the mapping is not looking good in terms of the texture. So let's Smart UV Project, and also go into this area called Shading right at the top. And let's select all of this. Let's make it about 50 times larger. Yeah, that's not bad. Now we actually have a little bit of texture on it that doesn't look too weird. But one of the really big items that you will notice, and what they tell you in like 3D Modeling 101, is the nothing in the real world has a straight edge like what we can have here. Everything is going to have some degree of bevel. Fortunately, I can just hit Control B, and I can bevel the heck out of this. However, we don't want it to be totally unrealistic, so let's increase the number of points. Let's lower it back down. There we go. Much more realistic about how this will really look, and just look at how the grains look right on that edge. Very cool. I love you, Blender. All right. So I just need to do that for every other single line here, and we will be good to go. I also sketched in, because I don't really know what this looked like. I've since found a little bit of detail, but not a whole lot, about this little add-on queue by the exit to the secondary exit to Harvest Theater. We have a little add-on as we look out over our farmer's market. So yeah, that's kind of where we are for the land. Let's get back to our actual point of our stream. Seems like this one is being maintained, so I guess I'm not being as inappropriate as I was in the last 3-minute stream. So that's good to see. All right, let's get some work done. So a couple things I want to introduce around this is, as you can see, I'm kind of flicking through different views. I just hold down Z. I can go to solid. We also have our wireframe, which I'll probably be jumping between a little bit. Now, what I've basically done is in the lower left-hand corner, this is, as you can see my little blueprint proof, this is where Kitchen Cabaret's lobby actually is going to be. Here's what I built over to the right. And this really lets me keep it on a clear x-axis. It's also cool because this wall, I've applied a mirror operator to make sure it flips between north and south. Exact same thing will be flipped between the two of these. And what I'm actually going to do is get rid of that roof. Now when we go into solid mode, I can actually peer through, which will make it a whole lot easier. Now what's funny about this whole area is the entire amount of work that I thought I was going to be doing would be creating this basically stretched out circle, finding a font that will let me type in Kitchen Cabaret, and then being done with it. Instead, what actually ended up happening was I had to individually build every one of these little lines. I had to figure out what the entire complex behind it in terms of the marquee was going to look like. And then I realized that there were no doors between here, meaning I actually had to model this whole area, which has at least 8, probably more, unique posters that I'm still trying to find original source material for. We have this 3-dimensional wall. We have these individual marquee lights at the top. Luckily, I was able to copy these very lazily just from the Earth station. And actually, you know what? I don't think that's looking right, looking that direction. I am going to, let's say, we're going to flip this. So I'm going to type in mirror. Wow, that did not go well. Why didn't that flip appropriately? So flip it around the median point. Mirror. That's fine. We're going to do this. It's currently weirdly rotating, so I just cleared out the transform, and now we can mirror. As we can see, Blender is behaving really nicely. Now, I'm going to do my very best to not start screaming or swearing during the stream, because I obviously don't want to do that, but I'm also dealing with Blender, and it's going to be tough. We will see what's going to happen. But I will do my very best to be on my best behavior. All right, so there we have it. We have this, and great. So now we basically, right now, if I switch back into my rendered mode, we have a whole bunch of bricks around this side. This blue is basically a placeholder because it's meant to be like you're standing outside, so it's like a nighttime-y scene behind it. Now, I don't think I can actually show you my web browser right now, where I have, of course, Martin's videos right in front of me, because naturally I spend my entire life just looking at Martin's videos at this point, because he's often the only source for data that we have in a lot of this. So let me copy this out. What I can see is, all right, we have 2 posters that are going to be against this back wall. So I'm going to copy that, place it just for right now, and just put in a mirror operator, so I roughly know where it's going to be. Come on. Actually, we'll do it differently. Do an array. Nope. Do an array. Array will basically just let me create a second version of this right next to it. Let's say this will be 3 feet away. Okay, so we have our posters right about there. Let's go back to the incredibly grainy video back from the 80s. All right, so to the right of that, we are going to have, so anytime you see this little circle thing, basically just means that I am saying where I want this to be created. So I'm going to create a circle. I'm going to flip it around 90 degrees, and then realize I did it wrong. So we're going to flip it around the other way. All right, because there was this whole arch thing that really took up this section. So let's go there, let's make it larger. Yeah, that theoretically worked. Move forward, move it up. Now let's take this line, let's go back to solid mode so I can actually see what I'm doing. Great, so now we have that line. Then we're going to delete these couple points. Yeah, Chris, I agree. Like, so basically I was born in, well, let's just say the early 80s. And I don't know what it was, but in our trips, I think I remember seeing Food Rocks once or twice, but I honestly don't know whether I actually made it to Kitchen Cabaret or not. which is kind of weird because I'm obviously spending a heck of a lot of my life doing stuff around it right now. It's just not one of those things that was a part of my early approach. Paul, that's really awesome that this is near and dear to your heart. Definitely cool to see the old when CMs who really worked on this. Very cool. All right, so we're going to dump that down. Yeah, Paul, they definitely do. I have some grainy photos that each of the posters are around the quote-unquote acts inside the show. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of... This isn't quite right. Let's make this a little smaller. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of high-quality images around it. It's mainly just what I've pulled from Lost Epcot or Martin's videos. All right. I'm just going to delete these out. It's not quite looking the way I want it to. So we're going to take this, we're going to make it a little bit smaller, move it down, and then take each of these rows. And bring that down to 0. Sure, that's looking good. And let's take each of these, we're going to extrude it out to give it a little bit of depth. Sure, that'll work. This inner curve, though, I probably don't want to have it shaped exactly like this. Oh, come on. All right, actually, we're going to do this differently. Don't need either of these base plates. Let's get rid of these. All right, let's see if we can... Yeah, there we go. Select this, and select this. By the way, if any of you have Blender experience, I'm just going to apologize in advance. I still really don't have any idea what I'm doing. Hasn't been that big of an issue to this point, but yeah, I definitely don't have the best workflow. Mainly stuff I've managed to figure out for myself. Let's make that even a little smaller. Let's go like that. Let's bring this up a little, and bring that back down to base. Okay. So now let's make that about, oops, let's clear out the transform. Let's undo what I just did because I didn't want to do that. Basically, all of your time inside of Blender is just undoing what you just did. That's basically the main #1 tip. All right, so Control A, wipe out those transforms. So now this is basically treated as a 1-to-1 scale, as it should, meaning that I want this to be about 1 inch. Bring this down to 0. Great. Now we're going to split this in half. I'm going to select this. So we have about that gap, and let's take this and this and this, and we're going to extrude it backwards a little bit. And voila, we have a door. Good enough. All right, we're going to select these, and these, and we're going to go into texture, and at least as a placeholder, we are going to figure out whatever I called this. Gray concrete. Gray concrete it is. Okay. Light gray concrete. And let's go back into Eevee and actually try to give this a bit of texture. All right, there we go. Assign. Right now, not looking all that great, but it's fine. We can work on that. Let's quickly wander through. It's also nice that you just get to pass through walls like you're a wizard. Ancillary benefit of working inside of Blender. So there's the actual complex I'm working on. You can see I basically just have a magical flying camera that lets me move around, which is very nice. I'm gonna have to move that in a little. It's fine. Okay, so we have that. We are rendering. Let's go to Object. Let's select Smart UV Project. And let's make this larger. Yeah, let's make that a little larger. So we have that, and otherwise, I think, let's go back to our super high quality reference photo. Yeah, that should work. Inner one, let's make that like a black or something for right now. All right, it's a little bit of progress. Okay, let's bring these down a little bit, and can't really figure out what's in the corner. Actually, you know what? That's not looking that good in terms of size. Let's make it smaller. All right, that'll work well enough for right now. Oh yeah, Chris, I saw that. That was pretty cool. Andrew, yeah, so we're still kind of talking and seeing what we can do about getting this into like an Unreal. In terms of using Blender for this, I mean, it's really just going to recommend just kind of diving in and getting used to using Blender. Like, it is a free service, so the barrier of entry is extremely, extremely low. Which is very, very nice. You can just dive in, kind of start playing around right as you need. And I basically started just really simply trying to do the most basic of items possible. And then it just kind of kept working, kept refining. And that's really about it. Just as you get comfortable with the system, you learn all sorts of little tips and tricks, and you basically just do a lot of Googling. So you can get an idea on what other people are doing. It's really about it. Obviously, it'd be great to get this inside of a, like a game engine or something, but definitely going to be a lot of work. A lot of what I've done here, especially because I'm totally self-taught, is that it's not exactly set up in a game sort of way. It's very much set up in a, hey, this is good for rendering, and if it takes an extra couple of minutes because I'm inefficient in actually how I do my work, that's not really a huge deal. So, there's definitely ways that I could have improved, and I still can improve, and it's something I'm working on pretty much every day I do work here. All right, let's switch that back. I want to give this a little bit of depth, otherwise it's just going to look super weird. Let's go here, here, and here. Let's just put a placeholder of bench blue. And a sign. What I really noticed when I was doing the cleanup for the Communicore East and West is that basically everything in the model looked like total hot garbage until about the day before. I actually posted a lot of those photos. Pretty much everything in terms of tweaking it, making it look good, is done in the post cleanup process. As you're building, it ends up being a mess. Another way to show this, so in the upper right hand corner of Blender, you're going to see all of these different objects. Now, what I have here, and some of these will be sort of okay, but generally, when I'm building, this is not how you want to keep organized. Cube 1, Cube 2, Cube 79, Cube 80. I don't really have anything here that's actually well organized, well named. So what I basically have to do is every time I quote unquote finish one of these areas, I spend hours going through, literally hours, and cleaning, renaming, reorganizing so that when I have to go back and make future tweaks, it actually makes sense. Matt, first off, Chris, yeah, great. I saw a little bit about that eggs animatronic. That is really awesome. In terms of official materials, no, Matt, nothing. Everything is just publicly available. Tons and tons of information being pulled from Martin Smith's videos. Just so much of that over and over again. All right, let's get back to doing some building. Let's go forward in Martin's videos for a few seconds. And, oh, okay. So what I am seeing is that apparently in this area against the back wall, there's actually a railing. Now, railings are just like my least favorite thing in the world. So let me see where I can do the least amount of work for this. All right, let's do this. Start there. We're going to create a cube. Cube is going to be, you can't see it right now, but I'm basically measuring this with my finger because I'm basically a 6-year-old. Let's say we have a 2-inch cube. No offense to any 6-year-olds out there. All right, so we have this cube. This isn't much of a railing. So we're going to take this, make that wider until, well, we probably don't want to block people from the actual fire exit there. So there we have that. And we are going to raise this up 3 feet. Yeah, 2 inches makes sense. All right, and take the other one, move it vertically down minus 2.75 feet. All right, and we're going to make this black metal. Easy enough. Now we are... Actually, what am I doing? Let's not do it that way. We're going to do this instead. We're going to make this a circle. 8 vertices, because we'll just make it smooth. It'll save on a few of our polygons. Radius is going to be, let's say 1 inch. And flip that 90 degrees. Okay, and we are going to move this up 3 inches. Yeah, let's actually go 4 inches. Go into our edit mode, select EY. A little further. Okay. Except that failed miserably. Alright, undo. There we go. Now we're talking. Move that forward. Copy it, move it up 2.75 feet. Okay, head there. Now we're going to make a cylinder. 8 radius is going to be 7/8 of an inch. 7/8 of an inch, and this is going to have a 3-foot depth. Move that down till it touches the ground, and then realize that this one is too high. Boom, problem solved. Now, a great way to be lazy about this is I'm going to take this and we're going to go into what's called the array, and we say we're going to move this every, oops, I see what it's doing. Okay, we're going to move this every 6 inches. Nope, every 1 foot. Nope, every 9 inches. It'd be nice if I actually knew what I'm doing and what railing widths are typically done as, but I'm not going to worry about that. All right. Then we have this, move that on forward, and we have our not terribly great railing, but it's fine. It'll work for right now. I think the big issue here is that these posts are looking pretty weird. So let's take it from the baseline. We are going to say around this, we're going to make it 3/4 smaller. Still not really liking that distance. Let's see what 6 inches was again. Yeah, maybe I'll stick with that. I don't know if I'm really fast. I think it's mainly just you kind of get used to doing the same repetitive action millions and millions and millions of times. It makes it a whole lot easier when you screw things up basically constantly. All right, so now we have that railing. Let's check how it looks in rendering mode. Paul, yeah, basically every single thing needs to be made. You think about all the miscellaneous crap you see in life, and when you're recreating that, every single one of those things you need to make. So I don't think I can really load like the images just on the stream, but some of those images I posted about, you know, like when I add little boxes to things, like in the good turn, what I really notice is it's amazing how much reality comes to life when you add little things like, let's turn the roof back on. This little box here, I have absolutely no idea what it does. None in the slightest about what this thing does, but I know that, at least for the Good Turn restaurant, it was dangling off the Good Turn sign down below. It's probably like an exit sign, is my guess. And, you know, when I haven't done too much with it, but we basically have these grates. And if you look at one of the images I posted a few weeks ago, I think it was down here. And it was before I actually bothered to do any work with the ceilings. And so it's just kind of this black void, which didn't look all that good at all. Whereas now we actually have some depth to it. We have the lights. We have the reflections off of the different signs with the kind of gold background. We have the joints that are joining them together. We have the grading. It all just kind of comes together. Cool, Paul. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of what my thought was, so I can do that. But again, it's one of those things like when you start building one thing, you end up starting to build and needing to build a whole bunch of other ones. In terms of things I found, I did find a Creative Commons 0 license for this chicken. Thank you, chicken. I really didn't want to have to find some other way around this. I haven't found the exact font or anything that really looks all that close for the farmer's market, but this will be a good enough placeholder for now. Hey, chicken. Call him Farmer the Chicken. All right, let's get back to the actual work. Now I'm just clearly procrastinating. All right, let's turn off the roof so I can actually see what's going on. And the railing, not super exciting. What I do want to start working on are these walls. And it was, if I can find my incredibly blurry, unbelievably blurry source photo. All right, here goes nothing. So we can see that this is a brick motif. Let's drop a point. Can I remember which way things bend? Vaguely. I'll make that 32 vertices and, I don't know, 5-foot radius? Basically this big circle entry like you're going to an American Chinese food place. Side note, I'm super biased, but ever since I'm moving abroad, you have no idea how much I miss American Chinese food. And I spent 2.5 weeks in China, and even then I'm just like, I miss the good stuff. So don't take it for granted, my Americans. Best in the world. In my opinion. All right, let's make that a little bit smaller. Really, Chris? Well, that's not going to happen with my, I didn't know it was actually 3D. That's a bummer. Well, some limitations are going to have to be made. Right, what am I looking at? Let's go back to the source material. Okay, we have that. How is this looking? Okay, all of this needs to be a little bit smaller. Eesh, that's not good. There we go. In fact, I'm just going to, let's just undo everything I just did. It's not good. All right. So you can see whenever I hit this period icon, so median point means it's basically going to be made smaller around that center point, whereas I can also, for whatever reason, add my 3D cursor, which means that it will be smaller like that. So various cases where each of those can be useful. Right now, I'll just keep it on median point. All right, let's say like that, and I want to make sure this is right up against that wall. There we have it. Where is it? Nope, you are floating in space. Let's move that back a little more. That's better. All right. So now this is just an inset where I can basically just smallify the circle from right within. We're going to take this and extrude it out. Let's give it a good, let's give it a good negative 4.5 inches. That's it, it's looking okay. And now let's take this one and this one right in the middle, and we're going to add a cube. As you can see, I'm not bothering to do any like renaming. That would make this make sense in an organized sort of fashion, but that's obviously not my workflow. Okay, we're going to make that about to there. We're going to take this, move it in on the x-axis like that. All right, now here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. We're going to move this up. Man, if we had like actual blueprints or all of these things, it would make my life so infinitely easier. But it's fine. All right, take this, select there, go into the middle, go in, add a new circle, flip this 90 degrees. I'm still here, my brain is hurting. All right, and we are going to add a hexagon. Then I'm going to do math in my brain, which is obviously going amazingly right now. Try to figure out 360 divided by 8. Don't worry. This is why I talk for a living instead of doing math. All right, that's on the x-axis, 45, nope, or x 22.5. There we go. All right, so now that's a centered hexagon. And move that a little bit out here. Then we're going to inset. Yeah, that's looking okay. And bring that out a little bit. And say everything but this center one is going to be painted, comma, red. Oops, I guess that's not its own object. Let's pretend I didn't do that. Oh, come on. No worries. I am a professional who knows what I'm doing. All right, so now we're going to take this inset one, select all of it, move it a little farther out so it's not going to clip, and let's make this skylight. It'd probably be good if I could show you the source material that I'm working off of. But it's fine, it's basically like a 256 by 256 image. And it's not great. All right, so all of you, let's see what else we have here. This is, let me just use that same kind of crappy concrete texture for this. And Smart UV Project. And we're staring at a barbecue sign. Exactly what I was looking for. Let's just head back. Cool, so we have that. All right, let's make this about 20 times larger. Yeah, for now that's fine. We can work with that. Actually, that thing I screwed up before is actually correct. So we are... Probably shouldn't have done something I did before, but it's fine. It's going to be salvageable. Okay, let's make that 1 inch, down an inch. Isn't this fun? Imagine spending hundreds, soon to be thousands of hours of your life just moving little dots around. Alright, so we're going to extrude this out, and let's give this a black. Perfect. Make a line here, black metal. All of you are getting this red. Cool. I think that's getting a little bit better. Imagine this is like a Chinese food restaurant type entry, is what I understand this is kind of intended to be. Oh Lord. Okay. Now, however, we'll show you one of the other really cool tricks that we have. So I'm going to select each of these and isolate it so that we can only look at this. Or we can if I get my brain working. Awesome. There we go. All right, first thing, let's take these. And this is a bug in Blender for some reason. All right, that's better. Great. We'll bring that there. And at this point, I get to somehow draw a Chinese character using nothing but cubes. All right, let's add a cube. Cool, I think we're done. I think that's looking perfect. So make that a little smaller. R45. No, that's still way too large. All right, let's take this. Okay, hopefully YouTube doesn't consider this inappropriate content, but after the first attempt at this stream, I think that's going to be an open question. I'm just going to be salty about that forever. It's fine. All right, so let's cut that about there. Let's cut this about there. And let's get rid of this line because I'm not going to want it. Dissolve that edge loop. Cool. Paul, maybe. I haven't quite gotten to the chop suey yet. Let me figure out exactly what we need for that, and I'll totally post it to the Trello board. Yeah, Chris, absolutely. I mean, it's super important to me that you know, other people can be involved because, frankly, I know there's no way I can do this all by myself. I just don't have the skills nor the time because it would end up taking me pretty much literally forever. So that's why I really appreciate all the work that you know, you and Paul and others are putting in. It's super, super appreciated. Okay, so we have that, and then we are going to copy this. I'm just going to sketch this in for right now. I can go back and clean it up later. So we have a vertical line, and we have, yeah. All right, up like there. And then let's make a, actually, you know what, no, let's undo that. Oops. Okay, so it goes like that. I should probably just figure out whatever this character is, and then it would be a whole lot easier to kind of build off of that, but it's fine. Okay, for there, and all right, and then that goes all the way down. Then we have a horizontal. Goes over to about here. I'll clean that up later. Then we have another one right above it. And, well, at least Disney was nice enough to pick a character that's pretty easily modeled. Appreciate that. Don't have any diagonals or curves, which really tends to complicate matters. All right, we'll say that goes to about there. And when I clean this one up later, it will be about there. Right, one more thing. We are going to take this, duplicate, move it up, and oh, this just has a line that goes all the way to the top. All right, so this is obviously really lightly sketched in, but mean that for each of these, 2, 3, 4, do. Color that in red. It's a reasonable approach to how this is going to need to look. Except one more thing, we need to put at least some sort of placeholder back here I'll just use my generic. Like a light orange that I steal from Universe of Energy model. All right, let's see what this is actually going to look like, if I can find where my model is. No, wrong place. Now I managed to get myself lost. There we go. That's getting there. Give it a quick start. Cool. Let's see if it looks even remotely decent inside of cycles before I do all the cleanup work. Apparently it doesn't look like anything at all, probably because it's in a scene that I'm not currently rendering. No, why are you being difficult? Alright, I'll figure out what's going on with this. Let's just move it all forward a little bit. Things have been really weird with the rendering in the land model, where things just seem to be off by a few inches, and I can't really figure out why. Definitely causing some issues. Alright, we're getting there. Cool. Alright, let's move on to one more thing. Okay, so yeah, so there are all these other signs. I honestly am not even sure where they exist, but what I'm also going to build is, let's just sketch this in. There is going to be a cube that's, let's say, 9 inches. Move it up 4.5 inches, so it's on the base ground. Take this, oops. And I'm just going to placehold this in as bus stop something. This is what I should be doing every time I do something, but obviously I prefer disorganization. That's going to be bus stop. Next, we are, let's see here. So we have the marquee over there. Honestly, what I'm starting to think is I may have to move everything that is in the front part of the lobby. I'm probably going to have to shift all of that back like 10 or so feet. I just think I have way too much room back here. It doesn't really look all that accurate. All right. Now, Paul, I'm going to save my sinkhole excuses for Horizons. Those are the real Disney strats. Sorry, I'm not bitter. Cool. All right, let's make this 6 foot 8 inches tall. Make this one 0. How wide is this? This is 3 feet. Let's make it a little bit better. There we go. All right, let's take this. Give it a black surround. Black metal, assign. Dump this bottom thing that I never want to create, but keeps doing it. I can also get rid of this. All right, now we are going to, okay, so that's the initial surround of the door. The door itself is pretty basic, except for, oops, come on, get smaller. Let's make this about one foot. Let's say 10.5 inches. Okay, bring this on up, and then take this, inset this, select extrude this out a little bit. We're going to select this inner line, and we're going to move that in so it has a little bit more of a bevel. And this is basically going to be a frosted glass. Right now we'll just put it in clear. No, we're going to do something different. We're going to use our skylight fabric again. And this is also going to be black metal. There we go. All right, black metal, skylight fabric. Let's make this that same red. And we basically have at least a placeholder for the door. I'm going to toss in one more thing. I am going to, is that even visible? Yeah, okay, it's the overhang. That's fine. Let's also toss in a cube that is going to be 4 feet wide. And we're going to make this that. Bring that over, bring this down. Like that. Now let's make it a little taller. And this is going to be our stage door sign. Okay. Now it looks like it's a little bit smaller than that, so let's take this back down. And for each of these, there we go. Let's move up just a little, so it kisses, there we go. Okay, so for this and this, we are going to inset to about there. Let's take this, move it in, whoops, minus an inch, and an inch. And I really should have seen how I inset that, so let's see if I can pretty much match it. Although, you know what, that's not even going to be visible, so I'm not too worried. Alright, we're going to add another cube. Move this up to there, make it a little bit wider, make it a heck of a lot narrower. Move that up. And stage entrance, sorry. We're also going to inset this, but let's move this down a little more. And now we are going to quickly add a text object, which is flipped totally the wrong way. Oops. Right. Wow, well done. All right, but I want this to be center, center, that a little larger, and we are going to call this stage entrance. We're going to give this a little bit of depth with the extrude. And let's make it actually visible. So stage entrance, this is going to be and the rest is going to be brushed aluminum. Let's see how it looks. Whoa, that did not go at all what I was looking for. I was going for brushed steel, which won't be as janky. Perhaps. There we have it. Alright. Let's also, the rest of that looking, no. So for this one and this one, we're going to make this black metal. All right, let's do one more walkthrough, and then I'm probably going to call it. Just want to do a bit of an introduction to what I am doing here. So let's take a look at how this little corner is doing. Obviously, a heck of a lot more work that I will need to do on all of these areas, but let's take a look. Okay, so I immediately see I need to make that door on the Chinese side a heck of a lot larger, because that is just way disproportional right now. So that can be pretty easily fixed just by scaling the whole thing up. And again, it's just rendering incorrectly, and it's really starting to freak me out. Like, it seems like this should be perfectly aligned, and instead everything about it is just completely screwed up, which is really starting to concern. It's fine. Let's move this down. Let's take this, move that back down. See if that's any better. Yeah. Work with that for a start. Obviously, a heck of a long way to go. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much just my little introduction. Anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, thank you for joining. We really do appreciate, and I will, of course, keep on posting as we make a heck of a lot more progress. Probably not that much today, because my wife and I have an ongoing Civilization 5 game, and I'm locked in an age-long war with Napoleon, and I refuse to lose. So that's kind of my life goal right now. Yeah, otherwise, have a great rest of your day. I hope your Easter breaks, if you had one, were nice and solid. And yeah, talk to you guys again soon. Bye.